Sair da escola já com uma formação profissional no currículo? Parece bom demais pra ser verdade, né? Pois é. No ensino técnico do Senac, isso é possível. É ensino médio junto com formação técnica, que acontece durante os 3 anos. Lá, eles usam metodologia para projetos, desenvolvendo competências como resolução de problemas, pensamento crítico e colaboração, além de valores éticos e sustentáveis. Quer saber? Senac. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino médio e saiba mais.
Hi there, I am Sarah Jane Case, and I'm the host of your new favorite show, Enneagram and Coffee. This podcast is dedicated to discussing the beautiful and hard parts of being human. We discuss the Enneagram, a personality map that is taking over the world, for increased self-compassion, personal growth, and healthier relationships. Listen to Enneagram and Coffee on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Book Talk for BookTok, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This summer, we are hosting our Romantasy Edition of a book club while we prepare our 15-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's A House of Sky and Breath.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our Summer Bookclub roster. By using our literary backgrounds, we'll provide our first blush analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we're discussing Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross.
Okay, there's a couple of people who sent things or longer DMs. All right, so I'm gonna read a note from one of our listeners. It was just flat for me. It was lacking. The fantasy element was so soft. Oh, enchanted shop and a proxy war for the gods. I kept seeing it described as enemies to lovers, but they weren't ever enemies, just class-divided work rivals going after the same promotion. It was well written and gave great imagery. I definitely found myself highlighting it for the writing, but not for the plot, if that makes sense. I think after coming off a really intense romantasy war, stabby, stab, evil king, it felt like eating a slice of deli meat when I really wanted steak. Just did not do it for me. I don't understand the obsession, especially with romance.
I love this comment for a lot of reasons, because I remember feeling that way the first time I tried to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I love the imagery too of eating deli meat when you really want a steak. Like,
yeah.
Totally understand. I can appreciate that Divine Rivals is a book you need to read in the right state of mind.
Yes.
You can't read this after reading a high stakes fantasy. You can't read this after a space opera. Like, we were fortunate enough to come to this after reading the Very Secret Society.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. Because like I have such warm fuzzy feelings for this book, and that's because of walking away from Very Secret Society
of Irregular Witches, right?
Yeah.
So I think if we had come to this book after
Serpent in the Wings of Night,
what's another one we really liked?
Hurricane Wars.
Yeah, any of the ones that were more heavy fantasy, I think we would have a different opinion.
Yep.
So that being said, enemies to lovers. This goes back to something we've said multiple times throughout the summer.
It's an angry puppy.
It's an angry puppy to lovers romance.
Yep.
Enemies to Lovers has been beaten down by the marketing and PR arm of the publishing world.
Yep.
I don't think you can trust anyone who uses the trope enemies to lovers until you read it for yourself, because it's used incorrectly.
Absolutely.
This is a work rivalry.
Yep.
To friends to lovers.
Yeah. And even friends to lovers is putting it loosely. Like I wouldn't even call it, because Roman was in love with her way long ago. And and Iris had feelings for Roman before she knew who he was. Like it was just like, it was workplace rivals with chemistry.
Yeah. And let's dive into the romance aspect of that now. I think is the right time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned feeling at one point that maybe the falling in love with Roman versus Kava was kind of quick.
I would like to expand on that.
Sure.
Wait, no, you expand on what you're saying, and then
So I want to first talk about Roman and Iris as work rivals before the Kava exchanging of letters is introduced.
yeah. I want to clarify my one thing.
Sure.
Roman and Iris falling in love as quickly as they did made sense. Iris falling for Carver, I just needed a beat longer. Just the small, but I'm willing to forgive it because of how intense their letters were.
Fair. That is fair. So, yeah, back to your point on the Roman front, it's believable because we start out with Iris's quote unquote friend at work, Sarah,
Yeah.
being like, "It's so cute. When are you guys gonna date?" Like,
Yeah.
and Iris is like, "I don't know what you're talking about." She obviously was just so closed off to her own feelings. She couldn't recognize that while they were work rivals, there was chemistry.
But she at the same time she did because she asked him for lunch, like to get sandwiches the first time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
she didn't want to recognize it, but like
Mhm.
there were parts that clearly were recognizing it. Like she knew
Right.
he was handsome. She knew that
Right.
she was like checking him out. Like one of her first questions is if he has a girlfriend. Like
Mhm.
you don't have
Mhm.
to ask that about a work rival.
Right. And then she gets upset and a little bit jealous when his betrothal is announced.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with reading all of her stuff and he like wants to know everything that she does. There's obviously chemistry at the start.
Yeah.
So it is not a leap for them to finally get over whatever weird rivalry they have
Yeah.
to fall in love. Now, when it comes to Roman's alter ego,
Yes.
and I'm saying Kava because that's how it was pronounced in the audiobook and it was said in a British accent. I don't know what the writing is.
Oh, did I say Carver?
Yeah.
Carva?
Yeah. Carver.
Kava? My name is Kava.
Roman Kava Kit. Let me double check. Oh. Oh, it is Carver.
See? That's me being British.
That is you being British. If you look up Roman Kava, it's apparently some sort of prosecco.
That's funny.
Okay, our Kava is a like champagne, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Okay, Carver. His name is Carver. This is what you get for listening to the audiobook
And not having a British heart.
and not having a British heart. I can kind of see how the letter exchanging with Carver is the key that opens up Iris to the rest of the relationships in her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because letters with Carver are the turning point for her, she puts a lot of stock into that pseudo relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, oh, this is the first person in a long time who's understood me. And as a result, I've met people who understand me.
Yeah.
But this was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
to your earlier point, like there's just a lot of intensity
Yeah.
between the two in this letter exchange and a dependency
Yep.
that the relationship isn't really a relationship, it's a codependency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it makes sense as an independent woman why, although Iris is mad when she figures out Roman's true identity and Carver's true identity,
Mm-hmm.
that she's able to overcome that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all of it made sense. It was just more of like I needed a heartbeat more. And I think a big part of that, I either needed a heartbeat more or, and we'll get into like the young adult genre of it all in a moment. I think that's like deserves its own conversation. The fact that they were 18 and 19
Mm-hmm.
was a big hindrance to me. If they were adults in my mind, as I aged them up in my head, they
Mm-hmm.
were 29 and 28. And it's like that is someone I can believe that understands the world enough to know what they want and to be able to like say like okay, yes, like you are someone that I am opening up to. and everything. Like, I mean, the amount of people that I've like just had text exchange where it's like, we've been texting every day for a week straight, and you're just like halfway in love with that, you know?
Mhm,
So I get
mhm.
it.
Yeah, and I think that's for me, their romance feels very young. It
Hmm.
feels very naive
Hmm.
because these are the first individuals of their age of the opposite gender that they're opening up to.
Hmm.
It feels like a first romance. It feels like a high school or early college romance because they're so quick to fall in love with very little context and very little experience. And that's not
Yeah.
a bad thing.
Yeah.
I do feel like it is very on point in that way.
I'm processing because I didn't feel like it was a young romance. It didn't feel, but at the same time, it does feel like a new romance. So like I feel both at the same time. And again, I want to reserve my like YA discussion for like once we're like ready to go into that YA discussion. And maybe this is the good transition point. But I I got the like youthfulness
Mhm.
to it, but it still did not feel like a first. Okay, I think it felt like a first love, but it didn't feel like a young love necessarily because maybe because of everything else that was going on in the background to me, or because of like how much they were opening up to each other. Like it wasn't a like what's your favorite color? Blue. Mine too. And like going into it, it was like really heavy mature topics that
Mhm.
made them fall in love with each other quickly. And that's and that like it was because of those are the sparking conversations. That's what made me not feel like it's a it's a youthful love but not a young love. You know, it's a first
Mhm.
love but not a child's love either.
Okay. Okay. I mean, in my mind, they were more like 21 and 23 rather
I'm
than
willing to do
18 and
21,
19.
23. When I said 28, 29, I was like, no, that's like even I felt like that was wrong.
Yeah, that felt too old to me.
Yeah, even that was like, okay, that's not right. But like 20s, like early
Yeah.
20s,
Yeah.
I would be able to do that. And but I have a lot of opinions on the YA aspect of it. But before we get into that,
No.
do
Why?
do you think we should go into it?
Just do it.
All right, fuck it. Let's go. Let's get crazy with this. Did a little giddy up motion here. So my biggest thing with it and my biggest fault with this book is that it is YA, considered YA. And some people wrote, you know, there's no smut and there's no like the romance and it kind of faded to black because it is YA. And it felt like a book to me that it was an idea and the author was said the author was told, hey, this would probably be sold better as YA.
Mm,
Whether you have a history of YA or this is what she feels comfortable. And I'm gonna go on a nice little monologue, TED Talk, so be prepared.
all yours.
I don't think this was YA for a number of reasons. One, YA traditionally is a coming to age story. There is a you go from child to adult, and we never got child here. We got, you know, someone who they established pretty early that they were 18 and that they were able to drop out of school, that they were able to drink. There was a lot of things that established them as adults in this world.
Mhm.
I feel like personally, this is gonna feel out of left field. I feel like Hunger Games, I don't want to say ruined YA,
Mhm.
but changed the way that people consider what people consider YA
Mhm.
because you still haven't you have never read it before. But Hunger Games, in my opinion, was never YA. It's YA because people didn't know what to do with it, and it was about children, but it was not YA. Like you have these characters, yes,
And written by a woman.
and written by a woman, exactly. And you know, you never have Katniss Everdeen who goes into this coming of age. She was of age. She was living in a world where children were having to kill each other. She grew up with
Mhm.
that. She grew up having to hunt and take care of her family and all this stuff. Like it was not a coming of age story, not like Harry Potter, not like
Mhm.
I never read Percy Jackson, but I heard Percy Jackson. I not
Yeah.
like even Twilight. Like there's no coming of age aspect to Hunger Games. What you do get is a book that makes you think. It's a
Yeah.
book that is really like, oh, this is dystopian AF. This is like this is all sorts of screwed up. This is
Mhm.
making like this is a very mature theme for a YA. Like that's what it was about. Was like, oh, this is so mature for YA. And I think that's kind of what happened. is that people then were shifting to mature for YA, and then that's what you get with current romantasy and new adult. This to me was not YA at all. It was, if anything, it was like being forced to be YA. You
Mhm.
can't have me believe that 18-year-olds are going to be 18 and 19 is going to be shipped off to be a war correspondent, that we're going to trust them with that much responsibility, that we're okay with them dropping out of school to go take care of things, to be treated like an adult, even if what's her name? Not Merida, Miranda,
Marisol.
Marisol, even if Marisol calls them kids, they're not acting like kids, they're not being treated like kids, and they don't have the thought process like kids.
Yeah. So
And that hurts with, like, when they get married at the end. Like, it also makes me, like, not believe that either.
yeah, that I understand that. I back to my point about Suzanne Collins being a woman who wrote Hunger Games. If
Yeah.
Hunger Games had been written by a man,
Yes.
it would have been classified as fantasy.
Yep,
If
absolutely.
Divine Rivals had been written by a man, would it have been considered YA? Would it have been marketed as YA?
I don't think a man would have had them be 18, 19.
Well, yeah, that too. I do appreciate your point about Rebecca Ross. Whether she was comfortable with that age because she's written that age before or she was forced to write that age. This does feel like an early 20s. This does feel
Yeah.
more new adult to me.
Mhm.
And as a consequence of it being in the YA category, we don't get to explore certain aspects of what it means to be an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a huge loss. Like,
Yeah.
that's a huge loss. You know, I would even, like, kinda say what you're saying. Yes, and if this was YA, there would be more exploration of what it means to be an adult.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, if it was YA, there would be like, wow. Again, that's what coming of age is. There's that
Right.
moment of like, oh, so this is what it means to be a grown up. So this is what it is. Like
Mhm.
what's going on here. They understood life and death. They understood
Yeah.
that life is short. They got it. There was never they never had to learn that lesson, and that's a lesson that adults already know, that
Right.
there's, things have changed and shifted, and and it's not just for smut. Now don't get me wrong. Dear God, I wish they were older so that we could have gotten that scene. Like,
Yeah.
that would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been I want to see Roman do his best. Uh but it's like, you have it felt very despondent. Am I using that right? Very despondent when you have when you have Iris, who is taking care of her mom, who dropped out of school, which maybe I'm like, high school, college, like, what are you dropping out of school? They never really specified that. Who is now a, journalist, a columnist, to then, like, be getting married at the age of 18. And like, the getting married at 18 was so rough for me. It was so rough for me not to dismiss it as like kids being stupid.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that because I actually really appreciated it. And let's remember
Yeah.
that this war is very similar to World War One. Tear
Yeah.
gas, trenches, those are all facets of World War One. And think about kid kids, 18 and 19-year-olds having to go to war.
Touche,
There
Amy.
there is and them being adults, quote unquote adults, knowing that life is short,
Yeah.
you're gonna honor life by doing the rash things like getting married,
Yeah.
right? But just in case we die tomorrow. Like, to
Yeah.
me, that made so much sense. If they had not been on the front lines, if they had not been close to war, they wouldn't have gotten married. It was
No,
a
that's true. I guess it's true. 18-year-olds getting married, even, I'm so sorry if any of our listeners was 18 when they got married, but it's just so hard for me not to, like, feel like you're just trying to play house. It did remind me of a quote from Harry Potter when I can't remember who was getting married, probably Fleur and uh
bill.
Bill, and I think someone said, I want to say it was Mrs. Weasley, but they said, like, that's what happens in wartime, people get
Mhm.
married.
Mhm.
And That's fair. Like I agree. If there wasn't a war, if it wasn't about like, they could die at any moment, they wouldn't get married. It's the 2021. That's all I ask. Make them 2021. Like that's that's it. Just the smallest amount. This they could still be virgins. That's fine.
But, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I almost think that the ages of 18 and 19 and getting married was to make a point about war. I don't think it was about young love. Or at the on the flip side, it could be, well, I want these two characters to have sex, so them being that age, I should just force them to get married and then they can have sex.
I would love to know. I want to know more about the decision of it. Like
Yeah.
what is it? I would bet that the marriage aspect is going to come into play
Mhm.
in book 2.
Yeah.
We don't know. You and I haven't read it yet, but I want to say that because I trust Ross, and this is the one and only book I've read from her, so who knows. But it feels like I really would hope there's a purposeful reason behind it other than just like, they're married for war. I hope that whenever I do read book 2, it's just like, that's why they had to be married or something like that.
Yeah.
But uh but again, I want to ask her like why 1819? Why not 2021?
Yeah.
What's the reason that it was this and not that? And what
Mhm.
made you, because then at that point, let's say the 1819 is an aspect of it and that is a point that they're trying to make, then is it really YA? And did we just decide that it's YA because it's written by a woman and it's the age group and there isn't an intense sex scene? So like, because when you have something like From Blood and Ash, Poppy's 18
Mhm.
and that's a
Mhm.
sex scene. That is a
Yeah.
sex scene. So,
It's more than one sex scene.
oh yeah, it is. So it's definitely there's a lot of choices here, and I
Mhm.
guess the second book would have to make or break it to me, where was the fact that they didn't have sex because it's marketed as YA, or because it would take away in a way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, is that just not her genre? Which is okay. Like, authors don't have to go and write graphic scenes as much as I want them to.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay for them not to do it, and it's okay if that's still not considered YA.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Now I'm wondering, maybe this wasn't YA. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to look it up on Amazon.
Okay, and I'm gonna look up the definition of YA because there is a definition. Okay, so we've gone and we fact checked it a couple things on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and on Goodreads. This is all marketed as young adult.
Mm.
And just to clarify, young adult is meant for the ages between 12 and 18. Or 13 and 18. That's kind of the traditional range, and it is considered coming of age. The question is, now when I say 12 to 18, it's written for those age groups. Not that that's the age group necessarily, but written for that age. The question then becomes, do you feel like this book was written for a 13-year-old?
Absolutely not.
Thank you. I don't think so at all.
I wouldn't say that this was written for an 18-year-old either.
No. I think it was written for adults,
Mhm.
and it's being classified young adult probably because she's a woman, like you said, and because the characters are young. But I am starting to be on your team of like, there must be a reason why they're this young, and are they this young because of like, it adds to the narrative, it adds to the
Mhm.
like, the recklessness of the world, not the recklessness, but
Mhm.
like the desperateness of the world. Like, is that the narrative? But like, I cannot read this and tell you, yeah, a 14-year-old would be like, this is for them.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So I feel like if this was better marketed as like it's new adult but with young
Mhm.
characters, and there's a lot more meaningful art to it behind it, like the choices are
Mhm.
chosen for reasons. And I have to
Mhm.
believe that, knowing nothing about Rebecca
Mhm. Or the second book.
or the second book, but this from my point of view, my limited perspective, I really do feel like there's a lot more choice and artistic perspective behind these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I completely agree.
And now a quick ad break.
We'll be right back. Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.
One of the things that I saw in the positive and in the negative comments is the magic system. And because, again, this is whimsical and fantasy, and there's magical typewriters and hints
gods.
and gods
who can enchant or compel
Yeah.
humans.
Yep.
But that's really all the magic there is, right? Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
I don't. There wasn't really anything about, like, some people can enchant things. Like, there was the person who was able to enchant the typewriter.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, and yeah, we don't really get an explanation of that. I think that's one of those things you just have to accept. But I
Yeah.
accept it because there's no other magic. If that
I mean,
makes
there's
sense.
magic in the house because he says the house will, like, feed him, and the mansion will feed him and get him water or anything that he wants. So, like,
Oh, I forgot. That must
Yeah.
have been in the info dump that I forgot.
so I mean, like, there's magical elements, and that's the thing.
And Marisol talks about how the house will not fall
Yeah.
so long as they're in it, basically.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that seems magical. Are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
magical, Marisol?
Seemed a little magical to me. Yeah, that's the thing. There's magical elements,
Mm-hmm.
but not a magic system.
Yeah, I in the Amazon ratings or like categorizations, it was categorized in young adult magical realism, and I would probably
Magical realism.
I would put it more firmly in the magical realism
Yeah.
category. The only thing that makes it more fantasy is the gods.
Agreed.
Otherwise I would have just said it's magical realism.
And I'm on board with that. It is magical realism with hints of fantasy. Like, it's a little bit of
Yeah.
both. And
Yeah.
I find that to be kind of like a refreshing take, because she kind of chose two aspects and was like, and I shall use both.
Yeah.
Like, I like the concept of gods. I like the concept of magical realism, and we're going to just mish that together. Can you explain a little bit magical realism?
It was always explained to me about making the ordinary extraordinary and the extraordinary ordinary.
Yeah.
So this idea of enchanted objects is ordinary.
Yep.
Right? It's rare, but it's still ordinary. There's nothing extraordinary about it.
Yeah. And there's normally not, like, a lot of explanation behind it. It just is type of thing.
That is just the world. You're not going to get a technical explanation. You're not going to get a historical explanation. It just is.
You're not going to have someone making a spell in front of you. You don't have someone who's, like, chanting and anything. It just exists.
Yeah.
And because, like you said, ordinary making it extraordinary and extraordinary making it ordinary, because of that, it's like you don't question it. You just kind of like know that you're in there. And magical realism with fantasy elements, I'm on board with it so
Yeah.
much.
And what I like about that is that it takes away the opportunity for the characters to have magical powers and solve all their problems.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
still real. They're still like us. They're humans with
Yeah.
limited ability
Yep.
to overcome the the dangers or trials in their world.
Yeah. I enjoyed it thoroughly, that magic. And again, it's whimsical, it's fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's talk about Roman.
What makes us like Roman, especially since he's keeping a huge secret from Iris? It would be one thing for them both to not know each other's identity. It is another thing for Roman to know who Iris is from the start.
He crawls to her. Like, he just loves her so much. He's
Yeah, but you like him before he crawls to her.
because he's charming. He's just very everything he does is Iris focused.
Mhm.
The second he falls in love with her, before she before he even writes to her as Carver, even before he realizes that he loves her, everything he does revolves around her.
Mhm.
And he builds his life around Iris in a way that I'm all for men doing that. But it's like he starts building it before he even knows what's happening, and then once he realizes it, he never fights his feelings. He
Mhm.
straight up goes to be a war correspondent to be with her. Like, there's never a moment of, okay, like, I'm like, like, what do I do? What do I not do? Like, he never questioned or doubted his dedication to her. And it's more than just
Mhm.
love, it's truly dedication.
Yeah.
He's dedicated to her writing, he's dedicated to her progressing as a
Mhm,
journalist.
mhm. And he's dedicated to her safety. Like,
Yeah.
he goes to be a war correspondent with her, not to be near her, but to protect her from the war.
Yeah. And not to stop her either.
Right, right. Just like, if you're going to the front lines, I'm going with you.
Yeah, and he never once stops her for anything. And, like,
Mhm.
even the times that he's, like, begging her, like, "Just hang out with me," and she's like, "I must go save people." He's not sitting here being like, "How
Don't.
did you," like, "No, don't." Like, he's like, he gets it. Like, that's
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
That's just what she's going to do. And, he never stopped her from being her.
Yeah, he never tried to deny her once she made her choice.
Yeah. And help her. Like, he brought her the coat the night that her mom died, the night that all that goes down. He's the one who told their boss about it. Like,
Mhm.
he's the one who says, "Hey, we need another chance for
Mhm.
all of it." Like, and it's not like because he's giving up his thing, he still wants to he still wants to compete with her. That's the
Mhm.
other thing. He's never like trying to hand it necessarily to her because but he views her as an equal.
Yeah.
And that's the other half of it, where it's like it's not like a pity handout. It's like, I want to compete with you. I want to be
Yeah.
at your or at each other's level so that we can go head to head.
Yeah, and other than the first time they meet, he treats her like an equal.
Yeah.
He assumes they're not
Yep.
equal, but the second he realizes they are always equals.
Yep. Yep. And he recognizes his faults pretty
Yeah.
quickly
Yeah.
and everything. So, I mean, and it's like, kind of a hell of a thing to confess to.
Mhm.
So, I'll forgive our baby Roman Kit boy. Kit. Yeah, Roman Kit baby.
Roman baby kid.
Roman baby Kit. Yeah, he's just a little sweetie pie, and he crawled for her. Like, that scene was
Destroyed me. Destroyed me.
and you know what I appreciate though is how hard she fought to get to him though,
Yeah.
because you have a scene where I think it's really easy for it to look one-sided. Like,
Mhm.
he crawled for her, but she went back for him,
Mhm. Mhm.
and like her brother basically had to like choke her out to take her.
Yeah. Ugh. I was so mad at that scene. How dare he? Like, what brother? And don't get me wrong, for someone who has been compelled by God, who's
Yeah.
fought that compulsion,
Yep.
who's been a victim of war, who has PTSD, like, his actions make sense. I don't like them.
I think every single one of your brothers would choke you out to save you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Michael?
He would choke you out just to choke you out. He was like, you might get stung by a bee, die. Like,
Pass out.
Yeah. Like, it's definitely, it made sense. I know people may not have liked the forest part. Like, this is a guy who has been literally through the trenches, who is desperate to get out, has found the one good thing in his life, the one thing that he's said that I'm going to go and find. Once he realized that she was alive, he was like, I'm going to her. Yeah, and he doesn't know Roman. And it's like, again, this is my 18-year-old sister. You found a husband in the 4 months I've been gone? Okay.
Yeah.
We're gone. Like, it makes total sense to me that what he would do.
Yeah. Like, you're 18. You don't know enough to make these kinds of choices. You don't know what's best for you. I do.
Yeah. What, like 5 months, 6 months? Even, let me be generous and say 6 months that he's been gone. I would, if I went away and I came back after a war and I had a younger sister that was like, I got married in 6 months and I'm, he's the love of my life. I'd be like, okay, babe, like, well, goodbye. Like, we're fine. How well do you know him? I can't believe this. So, it's rough, but like, I'm on board with it. But Roman got at the end with that crawling scene. It was just so good of how, and the fact that he's still crawling even when the god shows up and he's like,
and the god was like, he's 1 hour and 13 minutes away from dying.
Yeah.
Oh, hurt my
I thought
heart.
it was a minute and 13 seconds.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. It was a minute and 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Death.
And like, he just was, and the fact, oh my god, and the fact that he was like running to her with a broken leg and trying his hardest, like, even through everything. And and I am happy that Roman got to see her choked out to leave, because at least that way he knows that
you're
that she loves him.
He had fallen by then.
Well, like, he saw that at one point they look at each other, and once she sees that it's him, she does go fighting to get him and stuff.
That's true.
And we're assuming they're screaming and stuff, and they're not far. How far is 5 meters? Like, I just don't know this stuff.
5 yards. Assume a meter is a yard. They're approximately the same.
I don't know how many yards something's away from me right now.
You've never seen a yardstick?
No, I have, but like, I'm looking in my room. I'm like, what? How the fuck is 5 meters? Like, what's 5 yards away from me?
A yard is 3 feet.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm looking from here to there.
15 feet. So in your room,
from where I am at right now.
Yeah. From where you are right now to your closet door is approximately 11 feet. So a little bit further than
I love that you know exactly where. I love that you know from where I am to my closet how many feet I am away from it. I couldn't tell you that. Like, and the thing is, I know you know this information from that, like, 1 month from 2.5 years ago.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so you're saying from me to my closet is how far Roman would be, or is it from me to my living room?
So it would be more like, so you to your closet is like 3 yards, 4 yards almost.
So I would say almost from me to Nicole's room.
No, not that far. I would say from you to where Nicole sits in the living room.
Oh my god, I could fight someone off to get there. I would.
Like, they were super close.
They were super close. I think she should have bit him.
Yeah. I
would have gone feral if I was that close. I would. Oh my god.
She essentially did.
Yeah, she did. I mean, he choked her out and everything. Yeah. So in that regards, like, I'm sure he saw her get choked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, she got choked for love. I want him to know that.
Instead of squat for love, it's choke
for love. So let's talk about the one thing that, like, you flat out said you didn't want to talk about.
The letter at the very end of the book. And it is, and Iris's perspective specifically states she was in such a hurry to leave for the war. She didn't want to read the message and to change her mind.
Because she knew it would.
And then she reads it and it says, Iris, it's me, Kit. Killed me. So, but let's talk about so to me, this is a sliding doors moment. If you've
Yeah.
ever watched that Gwyneth
Yep.
Paltrow movie, and it's just a huge what if. What if Iris had read that letter before going out to the war?
Yep.
Would she have stayed?
Yeah.
And if she had stayed, Roman would not be captured by a god right now.
Yep.
Roman's leg would not be destroyed right now.
They wouldn't be in love the way that they are right now either. They wouldn't be married.
Yeah, and would that be better?
Let's play this hypothetical game. Also, side note, as an author, fantastic.
Mhm.
Fan-freaking-tastic to have that be the last, like, the letter that he wrote, that she, like, to have that end there and
Mhm.
to have her read that and the devastation of that feeling. Oh my god, such a good job. So, I'm just like, that was absolutely chef's kiss, maniacal laughter, evil.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
applaud you, Rebecca. Now the what if game. I mean, I think she would approach him just to yell at him and then still run off.
Maybe. Maybe. And then they would not continue to correspond. He would not have been able to figure out where she was,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Or, I think in my happy world, maybe they still end up the way that they do and stuff. But like the thing is, the what if is there, and that what if will haunt her, and that's what matters.
It is what matters. I think what also matters is the fact that Kit was willing to reveal his identity.
Yep.
And then when he realizes she doesn't know who he is, he chickens out.
Yeah.
And then when she receives another letter that might reveal his identity, he keeps trying to distract her from it.
Yep. Yep.
So like that also has a big what if. Like why didn't he reveal his identity again? Why did it take so much for him to do so?
At that point, he's probably just trying to like get her to love him. Like,
Right, that's
I
fair.
need you to be on my side. I need you to be that you're like, oh, like, if you think about the end of You've Got Mail, she's like crying to him, be like, I was hoping it was you. And I'm like, woman, he did you so dirty. He did you
Mhm.
so, so dirty.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
like, but at the same time, like there is an aspect where in You've Got Mail and Shop Around the Corner, where now the difference is You've Got Mail and Shop Around the Corner, he doesn't know about her until like halfway through. Kit
Mhm.
knew immediately
Mhm.
about Iris early on, but all of them try to win them over as their real selves. Like
Yeah,
they're like, hey.
which for Iris, he was winning.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was winning, and she was having a hard time reconciling the two. And what makes it easy for her to overcome his betrayal is the fact that it makes her reconciliation easier, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It makes her reconciliation of Roman and Carver go away
Yep.
because they are the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was evil. It was painful. There's part of me that thinks that if she had gotten that message and read it before she went off to war, she would have waited a few more days. They
Yeah.
would have fought, but she's so attracted to him, she would have stayed. They
Yep.
would have figured it out. They could
Yeah.
be making babies right now. We could
At
have
this very moment, they could be making babies.
we could have some smutty scenes in the safety of their homes.
I mean, like, she had a home he could move right into.
Right.
Her mom's dead. They
Yeah.
could just
Oh my
he could just move him right in.
Yeah. So this book really hurt my feelings.
It really did. I haven't seen a book hurt you like this in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
if I've ever seen a book hurt you like this.
I don't remember the last time I've been hurt like this, to be honest. And I saved you from that hurt because I knew it was your time of the month.
I was on my period and I was very emotional and I was
Yeah.
not doing too hot.
Yeah, and I needed you to be safe.
Thank you for taking that for me. For taking that
welcome.
emotional bullet for me.
You're welcome.
I'll listen to Ruthless Vows first and then that way I'll tell you, or
Yeah.
Ruthless Vows, and I'll be like, okay, prepare yourself.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not ready to dive into that.
I think you should do what I did, and I really want you to watch You Before Me this weekend.
Okay. Me before you.
You Before Me.
Me before you.
Is it Me Before You?
Mm-hmm.
Me before you.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
said it
you're
right
right.
earlier today.
I know. I'm realizing that now. I had to slow think that one. Yeah. I all I want for you is to have like be really busy, do your whole thing on Saturday, which I know you'll be nice and exhausted. I want you and Emma to curl up on the couch, and I want it to break you, but like in the best way possible, because you just feel so good at the end by feeling so miserable.
Okay. We'll see if I can convince Emma to do the same.
I'll text to remind you. Like,
Okay.
go cry.
You might have to text both me and Emma and be like, I assigned Amy to cry. You have to make sure it happens.
I will. Trust me, I will. It's Amy needs to cry in the healthy way possible, because otherwise it'll just come out in the worst time. And this is a structured, healthy cry. This has been therapist approved by multiple therapists I've had.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've my new one was like, "How often do you do this?" And I was like, "Not often, don't worry." She was like, "So, how regular of a thing does this take place?" Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you are enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon, Ko-Fi, or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok or Instagram at the handle booktalkforbooktalk.
Bye. I can't remember the rest of the TikTok, but I saw this thing and it was like, there's two types of women out there. You're either a Sabrina Carpenter or a Chapel Rowan. And I was like, oh, we're a Chapel Rowan. And they said, if you're a Sabrina Carpenter, you have 2 or more Stanley Cups. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I only have 1. Emma has 2, at least.
Yeah.
Fall has officially started here in Los Angeles, and that means we finally get to do fall activities.
I have been counting down the days for when I can go to pumpkin patches, maybe even hit up an apple orchard, and I get to do all of it looking super cute in my Quince boyfriend sweater.
This weather is perfect for my dark academia vibes, and I'm so excited to bust out my washable silk blouse because you know I'm going to be taking pictures.
Quince is known for their Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. And that's not all. Quince has so many other amazing things on their website.
All of those items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands.
That includes leather jackets, cotton cardigans, soft denim. Like, my entire fall wardrobe is genuinely turning into Quince wardrobe.
By partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, we get savings as the customer.
One of my favorite parts about Quince is the fact that they only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And they still manage to get premium fabrics and finishes for that, luxury feeling for every item that they have.
Get cozy in Quince's high-quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. That's quince.com/booktalk.